All right, guys, welcome back to the show. It's going to be a quick one here today, just because you got me. Nick was busy with something and he couldn't make it. But I wanted to get this out because I believe it's important, and it's specifically for this time of year. And I'm not going to take credit for what I'm about to say, mostly because it came from my coach Ed Milet, and he coined this term separation season. And so that's what I'm really going to talk about here today. And what separation season is it's a window in time. Separation season can be year round, but specifically this holiday season is the ultimate separation season, is because we just had Thanksgiving. The holidays are coming up, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. And, people are cool in it. They're chilling. They're hanging out more. They're not doing as many workouts. They're on focus at work because the holidays are here, right? They're eating more dessert, whatever the reason is. And so I wanted to make a quick little podcast about this because I think it's really important. And for me specifically, I've used this window in time probably for the past 3 or 4 years as a trigger, because specifically in our business before we sold it, it was a really slow season, and it would always piss me off because I wanted to do stuff. I wanted to go sell, I wanted to grow, I wanted to make shit happen, and I figured out pretty quickly, if, like, hey, if my customers don't want to talk to me, I got to do something else, right? So in business, I went to work, I went to budget planning, I went to prospecting, I did whatever I had to do to keep my momentum and gain my momentum and separate myself from other people who were just taking time off, right? And this podcast is really for the people who want to do the work. Like right now, I would suspect most of y'all don't, and if you don't, that's fine. You can just click off right now. But for those of you still listening, I'm going to give you some tactical things that I think you can do to separate yourself from other people. If you're an entrepreneur, your competition, even if you're not an entrepreneur, and then most importantly, yourself. I think separating from the former version of yourself is a really important point of view, because this is what we're doing this for. Like, right, we want to grow, we want to get better. And so separating ourselves from ourselves is going to be really important here. So in business specifically, right, like I mentioned earlier, people are cool in it. They're chilling, they're taking vacations, time off. It's the holidays, right? And it's called a holiday. It's not a hol a month, but people take a hol a month. And I'm not saying that's bad or good or whatever, but if you want to get ahead, well, most people aren't. What are some things you can do in your business life, right? Can you do the prospecting? Can you go on LinkedIn and send some messages? Can you gather emails? Can you do some budgeting work? Can you look for some potential hires, right? There's a lot of things we can do. Can you make some new ad campaigns, marketing materials, excuse me? All these things that we can do as entrepreneurs to create momentum, to gain momentum, to keep the momentum going into the new year, because most people aren't doing this kind of stuff, right? And so that's a little separator, those games of inches right there, right? In our fitness, can we stay a little longer at the gym? Can we do a second workout that day? Can we go for a walk? If we are working out at the gym, can we stay for 5 more minutes to do that extra rep? Whatever it is, right? Do we go hire the personal trainer while most people aren't working out this time of year? Again, it's not just about getting ahead of other people. This is raising your own standard. For me specifically, right now it's Friday night. It's 6:30 on Friday night. I'm recording this right now. I was sick for the last week. You can probably hear it in my voice a little bit. But I was like, you know what? I'm feeling a little bit better. I'm going to separate myself. Like, normally it's Friday night. I'm probably going to do something fun. And I'm going to record this podcast because I think it's important. And part of this too is not about not having fun. I think you can have a lot of fun in separation season. You can be very intentional with what you want to do with yourself, your family, your friends. Like, make it a fucking awesome last month. But separate yourself from the former you, right? That's the whole point of this thing. And your nutrition, let's go to nutrition, talking about fitness here. There's a lot of dessert this time of year. There's a lot of cookies, cakes, cannolis. I'm Italian. We got the cannolis running around, and I love dessert. And for me specifically, like, I'm not going to eat the whole thing. I might just have a bite or two. The whole thing tastes the same. I'm not saying you can't have dessert. I'm just saying be intentional with it. Separate yourself, from other people. If you want to dial it up real cool with your fitness and your nutrition and go all the way, don't eat the dessert. Do the extra workout. Separate yourself from the pack, from your former self. I love that. That's awesome for you. Good for you. Again, with the holidays now, there's a lot of texts and phone calls going around. I know for me specifically, I get a lot of texts saying happy holidays and stuff on the day. Ed mentions this in his podcast too, but you can, instead of making that text, maybe call him a few days before. Say, hey, I was thinking about you. I didn't want to call you on the day of Christmas. I didn't want to call you on the first day of Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, whatever. I just want to say I appreciate you and whatever you're doing, right? Like, for me, if you guys are watching a video, I got all these handwritten letters I'm making right now. So I'm physically writing handwritten notes to all my friends, family, business partners, all that kind of stuff. And this year, I'm probably gonna do about 100 of them. And last year I probably did about 50, 60. So I'm separating myself from the version of myself last year. I only wrote 50, 60, and I'm about to double that probably. And for me, I don't get a whole lot of handwritten letters. And so when I do, I really remember that. I get a whole lot of texts, I get a lot of phone calls, I get a lot of emails. But those handwritten letters, they stand out. They're a separator. And I want to separate myself from the pack too. Like I'm competitive. I'm not saying this is being competitive with my other friends and family and stuff like that, but I want to be remembered. Like I want to be thoughtful, and I want to know that I want people to know that, hey, I care about them, and like, hey, Justin actually gives a shit. Like he wrote this letter about for me, and he was thinking about me. That's a separator, I think. And so there's a bunch of little things that we can do to separate ourselves. Again, I think this time of year, it's one of my favorite times of year because again, most people aren't doing what they really want to do. They're cool in it. You're able to pass them, right? It's like you're running a race. If they're ahead of you right now and they're chilling a little bit and they're slowing down, you can pass them. And then it's gonna be hard for them to catch up to you. I think especially in business, if you are an entrepreneur, even if you're not an entrepreneur, this time can make or break you, and it can really separate you. I remember, I think this was 2 years ago. Now I was doing some prospecting, working some emails, and I ended up sending an email, even though I was like, I don't think this person is going to reply to me. And they're like, hey, like they got back to me in like 5 minutes, and they were like, hey, let's hop on a call. And I was like so shocked, and I talked to them on the phone, and I was like, this never happens this time of year. He's like, yeah, I'm not really taking time off this year. I'm doing some work, and we ended up getting a project out of that happened about 6, 8 months later. But it was because of that time. Like he was separate. He was in that separation season himself, right? And I think again, it's just these little things that we can do, and it's really like it's not that crazy. I don't think it's that complicated to put down the phone. Maybe if you want to be more intentional with your family, friends, just let's put down the phone a little later, right? Another separator is I'm gonna read more. You guys can see all these books behind me. Instead of going on my phone in the morning and checking email, I'm gonna read for 10 minutes. You know, none of this stuff is crazy, but you're just gonna create and lift that standard within yourself, which I think is the most important thing. Again, I know for me, and if those of y'all are still listening, like personal growth is really important. This is just this time of year is just really another excuse, honestly, just to get better, while most people aren't. And I don't know about you guys, but I am competitive and I do like to see myself doing things that other people aren't. That does make me feel good selfishly just to know, like, hey, I am working out at this time while most of the people aren't. I am, doing the business work while most people aren't. I am recording this podcast on a Friday night while most people aren't. Most people probably don't have podcasts in the first place, but you guys know what I mean. And so I think it's really important just to be intentional about this stuff and realize like, hey, there's actually a lot more I can do than I can't do. And if I really want to separate myself, from my competition, from other people, I can really get ahead here. And so again, this is a quick podcast. I think we're around 8 minutes now, but I want to leave you out with this because I remember this moment too, last year specifically for me. I was doing 75 hard, and that's another thing you guys can do is 75 hard. I was doing 75 hard, and I ended up getting hurt like earlier in the year, but I was doing 75 hard. I created this like group with us like earlier in the fall, and I was like it ended around this time, but I was doing it and I was feeling good, and I felt really good about myself, again when most people aren't doing the things that I was doing. I was cleaning my nutrition, I was working out twice a day. I was drinking a gallon of water. I was reading the books. I felt good. I ended up getting hurt, so I really couldn't finish it. But it made me feel awesome. It really made me feel good. And that was a moment I remember last year. And I was like, how can I get back to that point? Because I was feeling really good. And I'm working towards that. And like I said, I was a little sick here earlier. I wish Nick was on this podcast. We'd be going back and forth about things we can do because we both know we can get better. And like I said earlier, this isn't just about working out and food and your business. You can have a lot of fun. Like think about it. How can I take my family on a little trip in town? Like can we go to the park? Can we go to the beach? How can I have a really awesome holiday with my family? I'm going to choose to be even more joyful, more present. And I understand this time of year can be hard for a lot of people, but we can also choose to enjoy more, and honor those people that way. And so I think that's just another separator again from yourself, like raising your standard, raising your own floor, and thinking a little bigger, thinking a little bit more intentional. Um, Again, just little things that we can do to make ourselves better, make the people around us hopefully better. And yeah, like I'm thinking a lot bigger about how I can go into 2026 with a lot of the goals I have. And this time of year, again, that's another separator. I'm going to be intentional about the kind of goals that I want to set. You know, I don't want to wait till January 1st to be a new year, new me, whatever the people say nowadays, and do my New Year's resolution. Like, I don't think that stuff works. That's why I'm making this now, because it's January 5th, or excuse me, it's December 5th. I want to make this and put this out soon so you guys can listen to it at the time of recording. And I think it's important because, again, most people are chilling it. They're cooling it this year. They're just hanging out. They're cooling it on their workouts. The family's in town. You know, again, the desserts around. It's the holidays. I'm gonna chill out and give myself a break. I'm gonna take some more bubble baths. And again, I'm not saying you can't do all that stuff. I'm just saying be intentional with it. Like, if people are leaving on a Friday night early at work, like, maybe stay a little later, send those emails, whatever you got to do, right? Like, I think Fridays are one of the most unproductive. Friday afternoons one of the most unproductive times for people, regardless of the year, what time it is. So if you can stay a little later on Friday and do that extra work, you're gonna look back next year, excuse me, and you're gonna see like, wow, like that time paid off. That extra 30 minutes paid off. That extra prospecting, those extra emails, that extra work on the marketing materials, they paid off, right? No matter what y'all are doing. And again, it's just a great time of year. I think if I had to like put a number to it, again, I think 99% of people aren't doing what I'm talking about here. And I want to use this as a reason for me to put it up publicly, like, hey, like, I am gonna level up again. Like, this is another reason for me to level up in all areas of my life, right? Like, again, I'm not saying I have it all figured out, because I don't claim to be an expert on any of this stuff. But how can I level up my business? How can I level up my personal life? How can I be a better friend, family member, you know? How can I separate myself from myself? How can I raise my standards? Because it's cool to say all this stuff. It's cool to think about this stuff. It's cool to tweet about this stuff. It's cool to post on Instagram about this stuff. But who's actually doing this stuff? Everyone's talking nowadays. Not many people are doing this stuff. And I want to be a doer. I'm going a little bit harder on social media now because I've done some stuff and I want to give back. But a lot of people are just talkers. Not a lot of people are doers. And if you're still listening, like, you can do a lot. You can do a lot more than you think if you're intentional with your time. You can, again, do that extra workout, eat cleaner, you know, call that friend, send a voice memo to that friend, write that friend a letter, write that letter to your family members, call your grandma, call your mom, whatever you got to do, right? Take the little vacation, put down the dessert, pick up the book, put down your phone, stop playing the video games. Maybe it's a little meditation, maybe it's a little visualization, maybe it's a little prayer that you're doing to separate yourself, right? I think it's just, I look around and I don't know. I'm really glad that I listened to Ed's podcast. I think it was 4 or 5 years ago now, and I'm really glad I get to work with him and I get to learn this stuff and be around people who are high performers. It lifts me up. It's another separator to be around those kind of people. That's a great separator, right? How can you surround yourself with other people who are separating themselves, right? That's a huge one. That's a big lever to pull on. So, yeah, I think I'm finishing up here. I don't want this to be long. I wanted to keep it under 15 minutes. We're making good time here, but just wanted to make this quick reminder, guys. If you are out there, if you're listening to this podcast, like, that's why we named the podcast "Born to Be Great." It's this moment of time right now where you take the action, because I believe that we all were born to be great, right? That's the name of the podcast. That's what's on my hat right here. Like, I think we all were born to do something great, but you got to put the work in. It's cool, like I said earlier, it's cool to talk about this stuff, but you got to work towards this stuff too. And you don't got to just work hard; you got to work smart. And so this is the time right now where, like, you can be great. You can be great. You can separate yourself from the pack. And I'm going to be doing that. I'm really excited for this season. It always sort of fires me up because I get energized because other people aren't. I got some dogs around me that are helping me out too, and I really appreciate them, and I appreciate you guys for sticking around and listening to this podcast. And we've got some cool things lined up for next year, and hopefully we'll get another episode or two out before the year end. But yeah, again, just separation season. It started around Thanksgiving. It's really accelerating about now. First week of December, second week of December, and when the new year hits, like, it's really hard to gain momentum if you just stop everything. So this is a great time to create that momentum, keep the momentum up, go into the new year. Again, I'm not saying you can't have fun. I think you guys should have a ton of fun. I'm gonna have the most fun I've ever had. That's my standard, and I'm gonna make the rest of this year awesome. Because what else would I do, right? But I'm still gonna put in the work. I'm just gonna be a little more intentional with my time. So yeah, guys, just a quick little episode here today. Hopefully you guys got something out of this, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.